I want to share my experience with a fantastic app, the QRadar tuning app. And even though it is in early access, I think this stuff is pretty much ready for business. And I say that because one of the main things I hear from people that use and like QRadar is, well, he has so many rules, so much intelligence, but it requires some tuning. And I'm normally, pretty busy, or I don't know enough on the methodology. And that's where some people actually make a living just on, helping customers to tune up their QRadar system. Well, I think that this application, the tune app, can make everybody an expert on it. When you install the app, and there is a video on this series that show how you actually do that, you have that button, or you actually have as what you do with apps, you have something you can even make it a tab. But in the offenses tab, you're going to have that tune button, and that's going to take you to this particular view, open offenses, active offenses, the one that has seen data in the last 30 minutes or so, a trend, and then there are 4 tiles. I'm going to try to cover perhaps the first and second tile in this video, and then I'll go into this beautiful network hierarchy and the building blocks. I think that QRadar should have from the beginning. This is exciting. So when you click here on this one and you select, you start by selecting a range of a time frame. So let's say that I'm going to go back, I don't know, this far until today, and you can actually exclude some of these, categories of offenses. When you click apply, the system is going to go into your rules and is going to come up with some very interesting information. Couple of things that I want to point out. This application has a lot of very nice GUI navigations. So the first thing that you see is, out of all the rules, which one are the most active percentage-wise, right? And you can see them here. You see the corresponding graph, and you can see them all, or the most noisy ones, okay? And you see the offense count, the percentage, and the last time that the rule was modified. However, you can also see that by category. For example, in here, there are all the webs, that, and so on, right? And in here, miscellaneous, and all the ones on miscellaneous. So different ways of grouping that. But I would say that if you focus on, let's say, tune your top noisy rule, and you do one every day, every 2 days, or even every week, pretty soon you will have the number of false positive reduced dramatically in QRadar. Couple of visuals. You can actually pivot here and see those offenses in a textual form, and the actual offenses, the ID of the offenses that actually fire on that. You can go back to it. You can also, in this view, you can actually see the same information that you see in here, but you can see it display in here. So let's take some examples. Say I want to reduce my false positive. Let's take some examples and select some rules, which, by the way, you can select multiple rules and analyze them all at once. I'm going to go one by one to show you the methodology. So let's say that you want to start with the most noisy one. In my case, I'm going to check this one. Let's say that this rule fires a lot. And this is just examples in my demo system. In your environment will be different. But you select one or more rules and then click here, investigate. There's a video without audio in here that shows you the methodology that they use. I'm going to skip that one. So I'm going to click on the next. After the introduction, I click on the phishing email. Actually, I expanded this, so that's what is looking like that. So the first thing that I want to show you is that there is this trend in here. that shows you, I mean, in my demo system, I haven't been using this for a while, so but you will see spikes and train information in here. You get the rule. You can always go to the rule wizard to make changes of it, but here you see the test conditions. This one that depends on a host definition and a host reference and on phishing IPs. Let's actually go here and take a look at the graphic representation. I can actually tap here and I can see that this rule has a host definition and a host reference. In case that you are not familiar with these, in QRadar in the beginning there were host definitions, and there are a whole bunch of things called definitions and there are a whole bunch of things called reference. What's the difference between the two? Well, the definitions are the old building blocks that will be eventually eliminated or superseded by the host reference. The reference is the stuff that you simply go into a reference set and you add stuff in a table. Very simple to do. While these building blocks looks a little bit more, old style. The reason why they have not been replaced, the host reference, the host definition by the host reference, is that still in the host definition you can specify CDAT ranges. Well, you cannot do that, at least today, on the host reference. And then you see that this rule is saying, well, this rule has dependent on a host definition for mail servers and a host reference for mail servers, and also ports that are used for mail. And that seems to be pretty logical to identify those mail servers. Now, one thing is that you have something defined in a host definition, you don't need to have it in the host reference and vice versa. So the system reads them both. So typically, the system encourages you to go into reference because reference sets are more modern than this building block. But again, you can use one or the other. Okay? Very good. Now let's actually dive into this one. So it says review offenses. And here is showing you the actual offenses that have been fired in this particular case. So notice that there are two rules that are different, two offenses that are related to the mail servers. Now, it says review host definition, very important here. And here you have the IPs of your host definition. These are, the old style, and this is the new style, in which if you click here, you would actually go, you see that there's nothing in mind, but if you click here, you can actually manually add into that reference set your mail service. And it's important for you to make sure that you help QRadar know which is this type of server or that type of server. So the server discovery feature will help you discover rogue devices that have been placed into the network without telling you that. And then the other part is the ports that are actually using for mailing. And here's a list in mine. You can click here, as I said before, in the host definition, okay? And these are the test conditions that refer to that. And same thing on the host reference. Okay. Now, the next step is, well, you need to work with a reference set. In this particular case, notice that after we go into the host mail servers and mail definition, there is another test condition. I say, well, if this is true, we're talking about a mail server. Now, is any one of those IP contained in phishing sender IPs? And this, of course, is a reference set. You can actually click in here, and you get taken to that reference set, and you can make changes in here. That's part of the actual tuning. In any one of these, you have nodes that could have been placed. You have related stuff. This is what we actually saw. If this will be dispatching some events, as is in the case in here, you will have, what type of event is actually dispatched, and if there are any actions taken, you are shown in here. In this particular case, you see that this particular rule fires an offense when the test conditions, these two, are actually true. Now, the last part is review endpoint building blocks. Okay, And here is just more of the same, right? You have here the host definition and the port definitions. Okay, so if you follow all these steps and you make the changes in your environment, you have tuned this rule, and you will make sure that only fires when appropriate. Actually, I think that this stuff is so rich that I'm not going to be able to cover more than one tile in this first video. Let's take a look at this one, excessive fire denies from a single source. So I select that one. Again, I'm selecting only one at a time in here. Pass the introduction. You get the same, same information as before. You have the two test conditions, building block, and these category definitions. Now, these are the offenses that fire on that. This is your to review, as I showed you before, on the host definitions for database servers in this particular case. But I want to show you this one, which is different, this is the engine noticed that, okay, this has thresholds, and sometimes in order for you to tune your rule, you need to modify those thresholds, and here is pointing out where those are. You can click here on edit rule wizard and actually do that, and here you see a more complex the whole definition of all of the relationship between all the different building blocks in the actual app. And this actually, this graph is a little too complex in here, but maybe not the best example. You can actually modify these if you need to understand this stuff better. Okay, and then when you click here, it goes all back to that. And the last point, as I showed you before, the actual endpoint and building blocks. And here you see them, all of them that are related to those. And actually I can probably, I can move these down and I can see them all in one page. Again, great way of reducing false positive by looking at the most active rules and modifying the threshold, the building blocks. I mean, let's stop this video here, and in the next one we're going to show you the rules that dispatch events. This is what you have seen me refer in some other videos as the Sterling report. I learned this from our friend Sterling Jones, and that's going to be the next video.